Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Hello everyone. My name is Ahmed Paniwala from our school, Koingi campus. And today I'm with Oliver Grievson, who is working on VPAC water industry process and associate director at Atkins Rollins and a Royal Academy of Engineering visiting professor at the University of Exeter, helping water companies with wastewater installation, fuel complements, and digital transformation. So let's welcome our guest Oliver from UK. Hello, how are you?
Good morning, Ahmed. How are you?
So could you give me advice for what becoming water expert? Because I am on SDG 6, that is clean water and sanitation.
Indeed. To be honest, I've worked for about somewhere between 25 and 30 years, mainly on the wastewater side, sanitation side of things. But in my years, I've dabbled in clean water as well. Right now, I'm an instrumentation specialist. I look at how we monitor wastewater going into work, going into treatment works, and I advise a lot of my clients. Where did I start? I think I'm not a typical engineer, so being a typical engineer doesn't really, you don't have to be. The water and environmental fields are an incredibly diverse field with a lot of people with diverse skills. Personally, what I see at the minute is there's a lot of need for data specialists. Now, that's a completely different skill set, and that's changed. I remember 20 years ago, some of the water companies having mathematicians and going, okay, what's the mathematician doing working in the water industry? And actually, there was a lot of need for people with those sorts of mathematical skills. So when me working in the water industry, you don't necessarily have to be an engineer. To work in environment industries, it's a very, very diverse field. One of the things, one of the organisations I'm with is an institution called CIWEM, the Chartered Institute of Water and Environmental Management. I'm a fellow of CIWEM amongst other things, and really with CIWEM, we say we're an organisation of broad interests. So if you want to work in water and environment, you don't necessarily have to be an engineer. Obviously, engineering skills help. It's a big asset-intensive industry, big wastewater treatment works, big clean water treatment works. Some engineering skills, some interest in that area is fascinating. But really, just get out there and do it. There are lots and lots of ways to engage with the water environment in lots of different ways. So find out a local group, for example. There will be local environmental groups. They're a brilliant way in. Find out a local with school. There may well be a STEM, the science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Great, brilliant. The industry needs keen, young people who have the interest. Yes, of course, over time you develop your technical expertise. It's taken me years, it's taken me decades to do that. And I'm in a position now that I help a lot of my clients at Atkins Realis. I'm an engineering consultant. People ask, bring me in to help them. And that's what I do now. And that's brilliant. But a lot of it takes time. A lot of it takes that first step to get engaged.
Okay, so could you give me some tips like I have to solve water problems in Pakistan. So how can I do it by myself? Some tips you can provide me, and I will take you as a connection of mine. And also, I have a group in WhatsApp, and my mentor is Rehan Allah. He is a
Mhm.
he is an
I,
entrepreneur, and he is a businessman.
So,
Okay, you can
I
carry
mean,
on.
the water industry, you're never going to solve on your own. You can do your little area, you can do your little bits. It's a massive, massive industry, and so you're never going to do it on your own. There will be organisations that you can get involved with that can help. So, one that first comes up, I've already mentioned SciWeb. In whatever region of the world, there will be organisations. If you're in America, it's the Water Environment Federation. If you're internationally, it's the International Water Association. And in those organisations, there are resources specifically designed to help you to get engaged. There'll also be local groups as well. People now more and more want to look after the environment, come together, help each other. If it's entrepreneurial business, that's a different thing as well. And I do work with quite a few entrepreneurs and quite a few innovators. In fact, through my work with the University of Exeter, the actual course that I'm teaching on at the minute is all about entrepreneurship in the water industry. Entrepreneurial engineers. Probably my best advice for entrepreneurial engineering is think who you're going to be selling to, who's going to be buying your products, and certainly in the water industry, what pain can you resolve? What is the thing that they're doing that you can resolve? So a great example I've seen recently is people they'll do CCTV surveys of the sewers to check where the defects are. I can't hear you, Ahmed. You're on mute. They've used artificial intelligence to look at how we can do that to look at the CCTV cameras surveys a lot better. Great solution. I know an entrepreneur here in the UK. His initial designs, they're not expensive. Works in his garden shed, and actually he's one of the best entrepreneurs I know in the industry, and he's absolutely fantastic. So, but the best thing to get into the water industry is look at what the pain point in the industry, know your market. And if you know your market, you're going to come up with a solution that will help the industry. And you don't have to be a big company to do that. It helps, of course, but you don't have to be a big company. And also remember, in some ways, we think of entrepreneurship. If you think of consultancy, all it is using your brain. The product you're selling is your brain and your knowledge. So that could be entrepreneurial engineering as well. There's plenty of events to get engaged in the water industry as well. So I'm particularly the water industry, but it applies to any industry, to be honest. You can quite easily get engaged with whatever, know your market, know the pain points. And if you do that, then you'll start to get some success. There was a presentation I saw by a chap in Belgium, and he's a really brilliant entrepreneur who I admire quite a lot, a guy called Wim Oudenaardt. And Wim, if you look him up on his LinkedIn page, did a keynote presentation at a major international conference through the IWA. And the point he made was really, really good. And it's whatever you develop has got to be two things. It's got to be technology ready, i.e. the technology is going to be developed to be deployed. And then secondly, it's got to be market ready. So I've seen entrepreneurs in my industry over the years have wonderful, brilliant products that could do a lot of good in the industry, but the industry wasn't ready. So it's a bit of both. Yes, it's being that smart engineering entrepreneur, but it's also the business mind as well, being looking at it and saying, is the market ready for what I'm selling?
Okay, how do you do the research of water? Because you are on FWO, right? So how do you research
I
the water and
It's
which
always going
tips
to be
do you take?
difficult. It's always going to be difficult. Talking to people. You're talking to me right now. You reached out through LinkedIn. Fantastic. That's one thing. Talk to people. Talk to people who are in the industry if you can get hold of them. Some people are so busy you won't be able to get hold of them. There's always that. Talk to people. Try and find experts in the industry. Alternatively, go to trade shows if you can. Not always possible. But again, you may see what's happening. You may see, but mainly it's the hard work of talking to people, thinking, looking at the news to a certain extent. In the UK, over the past 2 years, you may have well seen what we're calling the sewage scandal. Actually, a scandal, sewage scandal. There's a problem there. There's a problem that needs to be solved, and then it's understanding what that problem is and seeing how any innovation can help support that particular problem. And yes, it's being aware of what's going on in the industry. If it's in the general news, it's probably a year out of date. But then getting into the industry, going to industry events, going through some of the organisations, seeing what's happening, talking to people, and that's the way to look at it. I'm nowadays, one of the latest things that have been rumbling on for a couple of years is PFAS, etc., etc., etc. And what's happening right now? The research organisations are going out and going, how can we remove PFAS from water? Microplastics are another one. How can we remove microplastics from water? But again, it's also looking in your local area. What are the problems? Is there evident pollution? If there's evident pollution, guess what? That's a problem. How can I help sort it out? And then getting engaged.
Yep, you are suggesting right because I think sometimes water research is heavier for you or it's hard for you. But if you're thinking that the work is easy for me and take the motivation towards to it, so it's easy for you. Now, how do you tackle the problems on your project, and which problems are you not doing, and which things taking you to the benefits?
It's obviously it's going to vary very, very much project by project. And I mean, to be honest, in my role, I'm a technical specialist. I'm brought in to resolve some of those problems, and supporting those problems because I've been there, I've done that. I've been in the industry quite a few decades now, and how do you solve them? It's how long is a piece of string, really. At the end of the day, there's always going to be problems that crop up in an individual project. Some of it is, yes, just general engineering skill and getting around it. I mean, mainly if you're looking at projects nowadays are run on a risk-based approach. What's my risk? Is that going to happen? And sometimes that's going to delay a project. Sometimes there's going to be a way around it. And sometimes it could be having a look at it and reframing the project. So it's a question that you can't really answer fully, because it's going to very much depend upon the situation and depend upon who you've got with experience within that project that can support and help. I over my years have developed a network of people across the industry. If there's a particular problem that I don't know, which does happen, I give one of my contacts a call and go, okay, I've got this issue. What do you think? Okay, and they'll go, okay, we've got this could help you. And that is, as I said earlier, you can't solve everything on your own. Even if you're the best expert in the world with the greatest knowledge in the world, you're always going to need support of people you know within the industry, and that takes time to develop. And yes, I take calls all the time on that sort of thing, and I call people all the time on that sort of thing. Probably about a quarter of my job is on the telephone, speaking to people, engaging with people I know, and we'll be going out to conferences and looking at different solutions and doing all the research which happens behind what I do. And that's keeping fresh, that's continuing professional development as well. So part of I'm professionally registered, part of being professionally registered, depending where you are in the world. In the UK, we call it CPD. In America, they call it CEU, continuous education units. And that's part of what you do, develop over time. And part of that's developing your contact base, developing your contacts with the industry, and developing in that way. Are you there, Ahmed? Hello? I think we've left. Are you there? Ah, good. So yeah, as I said, it will depend upon the project to project, and depend what it is. There's always going to be problems with projects. No project ever goes perfectly, but then experience allows you to deal with what comes along.
Thank you. Because I think you are the person who is working on my field, which I'm working on it. Because I'm finding the persons and I'm connecting with them. So I would like to happy to connect with you, and
Of course.
you can give me your number. So I will add you on my group, which my Rehan Alawala made the group of 6 persons, where the water experts began. So I will add your number because you are so experienced and you have a lot of you have a lot of knowledge about the course. Thank you. So why do you choose the field of water?
Um, Interesting question. I've been when I look at my career, I started with water. My first degree was in environmental science, and I had an affinity with water, even way back when. Then I started my career working in a laboratory, analysing water, and it kind of my career stumbled on from then. Over my career, I've worked in the laboratory. I've worked abroad in operational management. I came back from working abroad, studied again, and then went more into the second part of my career has been more engineering focused. But it's always been in water, and I think I've always had that natural affinity with water since early days in my career. But nowadays, I think there's a focus on, yes, I've got to have a structured career and everything else. And I've got to the point, I haven't had a structured career. I've gone from always within water, gone from one area to another, to another, to another. My jobs over the years have varied. They've never, I've adapted to the jobs that I've done. And one of the major things I've done is get involved. Yes, I've got my professional career, but I've got a voluntary career as well. I've done a lot on education, working with the professional organisations, professional institutes, and I've got involved and wanted to be always try and improve things, try and get things better. And it's always a challenge because you're doing your little bit, but if everyone does their little bit, everyone contributes to the industry, not just professionally but voluntarily as well, there's a huge amount that we can do. Why water? Because that's where I wanted to work. But again, don't feel you have to have a structured career. I remember years and years and years ago when I used to travel to work, I used to cross London traveling to work, and I on the metro, on the tube line in London. I remember seeing an advert on the wall, and it said the years of the 9 to 5 have gone. Now it's the 5 to 9, and it's 5 to 9 jobs in your lifetime, in your professional life. And pretty much that's where I am at the minute. I think I've worked for 7 different companies or something. So the 5 to 9 metric has really worked, and it's great. It's varied experience. It's everything else. And that's helped me a lot see the industry from different aspects, be it the water or environment industry. As I said, there's a huge amount to do out there, and it's an industry that always needs people. And it needs people who care, people who want to get engaged, and that's probably one of the most important things. Yes, the baseline education. Yes, the ability to do STEM. Yes, the ability to understand. But being a technically based person in the industry, certainly at the minute, is a really valuable thing.
How do you connect with these organizations?
I'm certainly, some of it's just being about in the industry, but there are professional organisations out there for you across the world. I'm also involved with. I'm a fellow of is the International Water Association. They are a massive worldwide organisation who do a lot of good for the water industry, water and environment industries, and they've got so much going on that there are groups within the organisation that are there to support. So part of what I do is I'm chair of the IWA Digital Water Programme. So I look at digital water, and I work with people from around the world, from America to Australia to Singapore to sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa, Namibia, and it's a fantastic organisation to get involved with. But what I'll say about any professional organisation, you get out of it what you put in. So to get in there, get engaged, and really get involved as much as you can. Some these organisations you don't get paid for, you volunteer for, and that's why voluntary work is so important. It will develop you. It will get you involved, and the more you put in, the more you get out. So the IWA is one, SciWem is another, and there'll be institutions within each individual country around the world. So there will be an IWA representative organisation. They're a good touch point. They're an organisation to talk to. Talk to the IWA as well. Maybe there are people who can help and present at your school and say, look, this is the water industry. I'll do that quite happily. This is the water industry. This is what a career in water looks like. This is what a career in engineering looks like.
So could you tell me in short things that how I can begin the solution for water? In short tips for this time for ending our episode.
In short tips, engage with local organisation, get involved. That's all you need, to be honest. At the end of the day, get involved. Yes, of course, do the basics. You're learning at school. That education is important. Really, very, very important. Get involved. Get the school to touch base with organisations. Get people in to talk to you, to help. I think we may have lost you again. But yeah, it's all about getting to help. You can't do everything on your own. There are organisations out there to help. The power of the group, getting involved together. And the school where you are now can help you touch base with those organisations. Get them in, see what's available. I go to university and I teach, partly to touch base with people, to touch base with the future generations, the future leaders. There'll be those touch points where you can talk to people and get involved. And that's quite important. I think we've lost Ahmed here. So really, it's a case of me saying, what's the water and environment industry is about? Part of it's getting there, taking care, knowing your environment, getting involved, and touching base with organisations that can help you and support you with your career. And that's basically what can help in the industry, what can help you get involved with the industry.
Thank
Okay,
you for
Ahmed.
taking the coverage. Yes.
Absolute
Oliver,
pleasure.
thank you for coming in my show. And I would
Perfect.
like
Thank
to
you.
take your number. And
Yeah,
I
I'll
have to connect with you. Yes.
definitely.
If you have to some answer, you can carry on.
We'll do it. We'll do it offline, Ahmed.
Okay. No
Okay.
issue. Okay. So, guys, see you soon, inshallah, on the next episode. It's the water related episode with Oliver Grievson. Pakistan Zindabad. Allah Hafiz. Inshallah, Pakistan will grow and